Hi friends, and welcome back to another video. And for today's video, I'm going to do a complete 180 from the previous video, and I'm going to talk about the books that I loved. I'm just going to gush about the books that I loved, and hopefully convince you to read them. But if you've already read them, please let me know your thoughts. We can either love them and gush about them together, or if you did not like them, I would like to know. I'm curious. Okay, I'm curious. I want to know what you did not like. Just be kind. Just be nice. Okay, thank you. I cry very easily. Okay, just keep that in mind. Anyway, for today's video, like I said, we're gonna talk about the books that I loved reading this year, and I have 10 books, and I could not rank them for the life of me. I cannot rank them. It's not going to be in any order. They're all in different genres. I love them for different reasons. I cannot rank them. Okay, and we have 5 honorary mentions. Again, I cannot rank them. I have made a list on my reading journal. We're going to start off with my honorable mentions. Honest to God, I don't know. Again, these are not in any order, okay? Within the honorable mentions, it's not in order. Okay, the first book I have written down is Pachinko. It's by Min-Jin Lee. It's about this Korean family. It's a generational tale of survival, right? We're following this family through the generations. We start off in Korea. We center the tale around our character. She's not like the main character. She is the main character because the story is kind of revolving around her. But we do have many other important characters as well. But she is kind of the center point of the tale, and that is Sonja. We start off in Korea, like I said, and she soon moves to Japan with her husband. We start off in the time period when Korea is still a Japanese colony. I'm shit at history. It focuses on this one family's struggles for survival and all of that amidst the backdrop of colonization, oppression, poverty, war, because they moved to Japan, and we follow their journey, their story of how they live in poverty as a Korean family in Japan, and then soon World War II ensues, and we see how it affects them. It's kind of traumatic. It's quite traumatic. I had one complaint. I have one bone to pick with the book, like the writing of the book, which kind of irked me a little bit, was how many times the female characters apostrophe s breasts were mentioned. I haven't taken notes of it, but I just remember thinking that was unnecessary. Like, we would just be going on, and then a new female character is introduced, and then I'll get to know how her breasts look, and I'm like, that was unnecessary. That was unnecessary. Took me out of the story. So I had a little with that, but other than that, it was such a good book. I cannot tell that I enjoyed it because it was it's very sad. It's very, very, very sad. Check out the trigger warnings. But it was such a story that it would really stay with me. The story stayed with me, and till date I find myself thinking about it often. That was Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. You know what? I want to go over to Notion and see what my thoughts on the book were as soon as I had finished them. I'm not going to give you any star rating because I don't know, these were all great books. I'm telling you, they're great books irrespective of what exact star rating I gave them. I just feel like that is irrelevant because they were great. I have a quote from the book that I have taken notes. Read it out to you. Adapt wasn't okay. I'm really bad at reading out. Okay, just stay with me just a moment. Adapt. Wasn't it as simple as that? For every patriot fighting for a free Korea, or for any unlucky Korean bastard fighting on behalf of Japan, there were 10,000 compatriots on the ground and elsewhere who were just trying to eat. in the end, your belly was your emperor. Honestly, I don't remember why I took note of that. Okay, my thoughts on the book were at the beginning it was sad but quiet and slow. Quiet and slow. Then things just happened so fast, and I felt a little too sad and pained to enjoy it as much. It doesn't have a proper message or an ending. The point is to tell a part of their story. That's it. It will be one of my favorite books, nevertheless. Maybe for a different reason than most. I really don't know what I meant by that. My only problem with the writing is description of women's breasts unnecessarily. It gives men writing women energy, but the author is a woman. Like I said, that was the only complaint I had. Like, it was such a good book. Honestly, I would recommend. It's not too big brain energy at all. Like, I read it, so you can read it too. Okay. Okay. The next book I want to talk about is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. It's translated from Japanese by Jini Tapley Takemori. I hope I did not butcher that. This is a book about Keiko, and she is a misfit. She does not fit in. Her wants, where she's in life right now, none of that fits in with her peers, with society. And she, honest to God, does not understand why they're so bothered about making her fit in. Like, her friends and her family are like, "Oh, Keiko, you don't fit in. You're not married. You're in a dead end job at this convenience store that you worked as a part-time worker when you were in college, and you're still in the same place. Like, don't you want to advance in your career? Like, don't you want to advance in your family life? Don't you want to get married and have children? Don't you want to buy a house? Like, you've just kind of stayed stagnant since college." And she's like, "No, I'm happy at the convenience store. It brings me purpose, it brings me happiness, it brings me satisfaction. Like, why should I?" And I don't feel the need to get married, find somebody, get married, and all of that. I don't feel the need for that. Like, I don't understand why I should do all of these things to fit in to society. She eventually gives in, and she goes on this journey trying to fit in, and you follow her on this journey, and spoiler alert, we realize that fuck fitting in. Like, she's just gonna do her thing, so she does her thing at the end, and it was like perfect. It was a short read. It's a very short read. It's 163 pages. It's less than 200 pages. It's very short. It's very, I don't know, validating, comforting as a woman. Like, I do not relate to a lot of the things that Keiko goes through. Like, I don't have similar experiences as her. It's kind of validating to read a book wherein the main character does not fit in, and the lesson is that fuck all of that, do your own thing, do what makes you happy, as long as you have the means to live. By that I mean, other than for money. What am I talking about? That was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I cannot read you my Notion review because that would be a spoiler. So I'm not going to do that for you because I'm a good friend. Okay, the next book I have is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Oh my god. I remember a friend of mine recommended this to me, and it's so good. Oh my god, it's so good. It's about, again, Eleanor Oliphant, who has gone through very traumatic experiences in her past. Okay, so check out the trigger warnings again. And now she is, again, a misfit. Like, she does not fit into society. She does not fit in with her peers. And we follow her, learning to form friendships and learning, I guess, in a way to value herself and value human connection. It gets really messy, but it's really this heartwarming, oh my god, I cannot explain it to you. I cannot explain it. I have to read. I took notes, and I have a couple of quotes that will make me cry. Okay, I am going to cry if I read it right now, but I'm gonna read it nevertheless. Raymond is a friend that she makes. They're friends, okay? Raymond walked quickly. I'm reading a quote from the book that I annotated. Raymond walked quickly, and I began to worry that I wouldn't be able to keep pace with him in my new boots. I noticed him glance at me, and then he slowed his steps to match mine. I realized that such small gestures, the way his mother had made me a cup of tea after our meal without asking, uh, the way that his mother had made me a cup of tea after our meal without asking, remembering that I didn't take sugar, the way Laura is another friend that she makes. Laura had placed 2 biscuits on the saucer when she brought me coffee in the salon. Such things could mean so much. I wondered how it would feel to perform such simple deeds for other people. Oh, Ellen, I'm gonna cry. I'm- I, I have nothing to say. That is just okay. Okay. I'm not gonna read you the rest of the annotations I've done because spoilers. I'm not gonna spoil things for you. Okay. My review that I've read, that I've written is it's a little slow and boring, especially in the beginning. But overall, an emotional, heartwarming read. I cried and I beamed, smiling. Ugh. I honestly want to do a reread of this book because my heart, oh my god, I love this so much. Why is it not 5 stars? Like, why is it not in the top 10? Honestly, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I remember. The backstory was seemed a little too much to me. Like, I felt like it was a little too much. For me personally, when I was reading it, I felt like there was too much. Okay, that was Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. Next book I want to talk about is Milk Fed. This is the reason I did not give it. It did not make to the top 10. It's a little too sexual for my liking. Yeah, this is about. Honest to God, I do not remember her name. How do I not remember her name? Rachel? Her name is Rachel? Really? I don't remember reading a Rachel in this book. But honestly, okay, whatever. Rachel is. I'll tell you what I remember of it, okay? She is struggling with her diet. Honestly, major trigger warnings for eating disorders. She does not have a good relationship with her food and her body and herself. And we follow her from there. And then she gets obsessive over this other girl who works at a frozen yogurt place. And she slowly gets away from her incredibly restrictive diet. And we follow this obsessive spiral she goes into. And we just follow her in that mess. You know, the book I hated that I talked about in the previous video. Can you still see me? And that was Bookworm by Robin Yetman. I wanted this sort of ending from that book. Because that also has an obsessive spiral wherein the main character gets obsessed with another person and he gets sexually involved with them. This also has a similar plotline. Similar, not exactly the same. But the ending was really well done. I loved it. It was just the amount of obsession. She initially is obsessed with food and slowly replaces her obsession with this girl that she's obsessed with. And that was a really, I don't know, I loved the journey. Like, I liked going on the journey with the main character. It wasn't like light-hearted enjoyment, but I like reading about obsessive, unhinged main characters. Haven't we established that? But it was really good. The only thing I kind of that deterred me from giving it absolute top 5 stars was that it was a little too sexual. There was a little too much sex in it for me. I did not like that. So yeah, I mean that was just personal, right? That's absolutely nothing wrong with the book at all. Um, let's see what I said over on Notion. Okay, all I said is maybe a little too sexual, but I'm obsessed. That's all I said. That was so boring. Okay, that is milk fed. The next book I want to talk about is Anne of Green Gables. The book in itself I did not enjoy that much. It was very cozy, very heartwarming. It's a classic middle grade book. It was really nice. It was. Can you still see me? You can, right? You can, right? Is this better? I hope this is better. But the I started watching Anne with an E after reading this book. I have no words. That is my. It brought me so much joy. Just the show just brought me so much joy. Like, I cannot. I remember I was binge watching this. Not binge watching. Like I was watching this show. I watched the show over a period of 2 months. Like I just kind of scattered. But I was watching it, I remember very vividly, during my ICU postings. And ICU postings in general are kind of chaotic because the shifts change every 2 days. So your sleep schedule, your food eating, hunger schedule, out of the window. It's God. No, you're not even human for that. It was my ICU postings for a week. Okay, and it's chaotic. It's a mess, but also you do see more deaths in ICU postings because ICU patients are critical patients, and that kind of gets to you, that obviously gets to you. So I was kind of I wasn't doing I wasn't doing very well because I wasn't sleeping enough, I wasn't eating enough, and my emotional well-being was a wreck, was a mess. And I was watching Anne with an E that time, and that's the thing that got me through ICU postings. Okay, no, Anne with an E. Oh my god, I'm not even talking about this book right now, but the book was really, really good, really special. But the series, if you haven't watched Anne with an E, what are you doing? Like, it's honest to God left a gaping hole in my heart. Now that I finished. Like, why isn't there any more seasons? Like, what? That was that. That was Anne with the Anne of Green Gables. This, if you don't know, is a story about. Honestly, I don't remember how old she is, but I think she's 10. An orphan girl who gets adopted by this brother sister sibling duo, but they actually wanted a boy to help out in the farm, but there was a mistake and they got this girl. And if you have to know anything about her, she has red hair and she hates it, and she cannot shut up. She's very endearing, charming, and she keeps talking a lot. And she's very imaginative. She imagines a lot all day. She's daydreaming, and so we follow this journey wherein slowly this sister and brother duo who adopts, her name is Anne Shirley, they adopt her and they slowly fall in love with her and they become a family, and it's really sweet and heartwarming. And Anne Shirley does the stupidest things, and you follow her doing all the stupid things, and it's just really cozy and sweet. The show, honestly, is so much better than the book, in my opinion. I have only read the first book, though. The book is really good, but the show got the essence of the book and did so much with it. That worked out so well. It's so good. I have tried a couple of books to show or movie adaptations I've tried watching. Honestly, nothing really stood out to me like Anne with an E. Like, I tried watching Pachinko, the K-drama. Nothing wrong against it. Absolutely not. It's just that I feel like when I read something I create this universe in my head, I create this world in my head, I create these characters in my head, and if they don't look exactly the same, and I don't know, I get a little mad. I'm like, "Ah, no, I don't want to ruin, I don't want to have to change the story I have, I mean the scenes I have in my head, you know, like I don't want it to be spoiled by this on-screen adaptation. I even tried watching Daisy Jones and the Six. Did not work out for me. I watched Pride and Prejudice. I watched scenes from the BBC TV series from 1990 something. I also watched the 2005 or something movie with, what's her name? What's her name? I cannot remember her name. She's really pretty though. I liked them, but like nothing stands out like Anne with an E. So wonderfully perfect. Okay, let's move on to our top 10, because I've been talking forever. Okay, the first book I want to talk about is The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I listened to it on audiobook, and the narrator does a wonderful job. Okay, this is about,
again, I'm forgetting her name.
Lakshmi. This is about Lakshmi, who has escaped her abusive marriage. She basically ran away. It's set in the 1950s, and she's now in Jaipur. And she's living as a henna artist. And so she's moving amongst rich women of Jaipur. This rich people drama. And she is not rich. So she's kind of having to circumnavigate their egos and their whims in order to get her way and eventually get to her goal, that is money, so that she can build a house, so that she can invite her parents, and provide them with everything that she wants to provide them with, that, you know, she has not had growing up. Rich people drama, and this middle class woman caught in the web of lies and power and ego of rich people, and she's having to navigate that, and it's such a luscious tale. And into this mix is thrown her younger sister that she did not know existed, the juxtaposition of her life and what she has to do to keep afloat, and the things that the rich people do to maintain their status is kind of, I don't know, it's really well done in my opinion. It's so well done. This is one of the select few books that I think the ending is so perfect. Like it just fell into place, just it's so satisfying how wonderfully it's done. It's written really well. I loved the characters. It was so good. Like, why do I have nothing to say about books that I like, and all I'm left saying is it was so good, I love the characters, I cried, this, that. It was really good. Whereas I can talk for lengths about the books that I hated. I'm like, this nitpicky thing, I hated this, I hated that. The Henna Artist, highly recommend. It was so good. Okay, there was one thing that not irritated me, but like it was like, yikes, funny. I am not the best in Hindi. Okay, I'm not the best at Hindi. There are places where Lakshmi or a couple of the characters would speak in Hindi, right? So they would talk to each other and they'd be like, please do this, okay? And obviously, there are many Hindi words sprinkled throughout this book. And so the author, Alka Joshi, she writes it like, please do this, okay? But the okay part is written in Hindi. In my experience, in my understanding of the language of Hindi, you would say, please do this, theek hai? Like you'd be like, okay, just do this, okay? Like just do this, theek hai? But she says, just do this, acha? Like I have never heard. I mean, this might just be my mistake. Okay, like I said, I do not know Hindi well at all, by no means. But from what I have heard, people speak nobody would say, yeah, please do this. Acha? People would say, please do this, ठीक है? Like, I'll come home, ठीक है? Like, nobody will say, I'll come home. Acha? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it make sense? That was a little, like, ooh, thing for me, but that could just be me, so. That is, okay, the narrator of this book is called Sneha Mathan. I hope I did not mispronounce her name, which would be embarrassing, you know. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is young adult fantasy, Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. This is like a retelling of this Korean mythological tale, folklore tale. I honestly don't know, about the sea god and the storms that he makes every year that kind of ruins the lands and all of that. And so the people sacrifice a bride, the sea god's bride, every year. So basically they shove her down the sea, and she's supposed to make him happy for a month, for a year, god, for a year. And the storms are supposed to subside. That is the myth that I know of. We follow our main character Mina, as she sacrifices herself to be the sea god's bride in the place of her beloved elder brother's lover. Like, she loves her elder brother so much, and he loves his lover so much, and so she almost makes a sacrifice for that couple, and she sacrifices herself. Does that make sense? And we follow her as she goes to the sea god's realm, and we follow this journey that she goes on trying to break this curse on their lands. So she's doing it for her people and for her family. She has to get the situation, she has to solve this curse on the lands, essentially. There is major found family. It's so whimsical. It's like, it's so fairy tale-esque. It's written, in my opinion, it's really fast paced. It's really fast paced, really easy to get engrossed in. Short chapters. It's young adult fantasy. It's a standalone fantasy. It's written with such beautiful settings, in my opinion. Such beautiful settings, such beautiful writing. I loved the characters, the found family, the love story. Don't even get me started on that. It was so good. Oh my god. I literally read it. When I was finishing it, I finished it one night. Because obviously I stayed up finishing it. I was gushing about it. I could not sleep. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Is it objectively the best book I've ever read? Maybe not, but I had so much fun. I had so much fun reading it. Oh my god, it was so good. I loved it, okay? I loved it so much. And the cover, oh my god. I'm telling you all the plus points reading it. It's short chapters, fast paced, really easy to get engrossed in. It's YA fantasy. It's a standalone fantasy. Such beautiful setting, whimsical writing, found family, beautiful love story, and the cover. It's so beautiful. Okay, the cover is so stunning. The next book I want to talk about is non-fiction. That is, it's a memoir. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. I hope I did not mispronounce. This is written in a period of time where she's going through a difficult time in her life. She's going through a breakup, and so she goes to a therapist. And so she's the patient as well as a therapist, right? I am honestly talking in circles. This is a story about a therapist, her patients, and her therapist. And Lori Gottlieb, she does mention at the starting of the book that she has gone to lengths to she has first of all gotten written and informed consent from her patients, and she has also gone to extensive lengths. She's gone to lengths to conceal their identity, change their names, protect their privacy, but also at the same time be true to the essence of their stories. Honestly, I should just read it in her own words to you. And I have taken notes from this book. You know, there are some books that feel like they're written for you. This is a non-fiction, this is a memoir. Obviously, it's not written for me. It's written for the sake of this author telling her story. But it fits so well with the nature of my brain, my mind. It just fit exactly well. Like it's almost like it's written for me. Like it doesn't make sense. My review on Notion is, ah god, this gem of a book. Absolutely, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, I'm going to read you the preface. I think that's what it's called. In addition to attaining written permission, I have gone to great lengths to disguise identities and recognizable details, and in some instances, material and scenarios from a few patients have been attributed to one. All changes were carefully considered and painstakingly chosen to remain true to the spirit of each story, while also serving the greater goal, that is, to reveal our shared humanity so that we can see ourselves more clearly. Which is to say, if you see yourself in these pages, it is both coincidental and intentional. Tell me, I mean, you cannot tell me, but like, the moment I read that, I was like, tell me this is not a book written for me. Because it is, okay? It's not, I'm joking. And she also says, of all my credentials as a therapist, my most significant one is that I'm a card carrying member of the human race. I don't know, that resonated with me. Wendell is her therapist, right? So she goes to a therapist. And this is another line. There's a difference between pain and suffering, Wendell says. You're going to have to feel pain. Everyone feels pain at times, but you don't have to suffer so much. You're not choosing the pain, but you're choosing the suffering. It was just so good. I want to reread it at some point in my life. Okay, again, I want to reread it and relive that. It was so good. It was so well written. It was just so good. It was just perfect. It was written for me. Okay, that's the only way I can explain it. The next book I'm going to talk about is Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Frazier. I remember. This is about a main girl. I don't remember her name. She is working at this pizza shop. Her name is... Wait. Oh my god, don't tell me she's unnamed. Her name is Jane. Are you serious? Because how do I not remember her name being Jane? Like, you know, of course, there are many names that I don't remember, but the moment I see them again, like, the moment I read it again, like, I read a review and I see the name there, and I was like, oh yeah, that was her name, I remember reading that. But then I don't remember reading the main character of this book being called Jane. Okay. We're just gonna solidify the fact that I love reading about people getting obsessed with other people. Okay, we follow Jane, who is a main character. She is just out of high school and she recently got pregnant, and it was an accidental pregnancy, and she lives with her mother and her boyfriend, right? So her boyfriend and her, they had plans prior to her getting pregnant. Her boyfriend had actual solid plans. She felt lost even back then, but now that she's gotten pregnant, both her boyfriend and her have taken up jobs, and her mother also is working, I think. in order to sustain themselves, right? So she has this loving family, her mother and her boyfriend. And recently she has lost her father, and she's kind of grappling with that grief and the feeling of, feeling lost. Like not knowing what she should do when everybody else seems to know, when she is, it seems that she should know what she should do next. Into this is thrown her pregnancy, and it's just really kind of chaotic and a little bit sad. And amidst this, she gets obsessed over one of the customers that she gets, and her name is Jenny. So she does a door delivery, like a, what is it called? Like she takes the pizza to her house, to Jenny's house, and delivers it there. Like, I cannot think of what it's called. Door delivery, I think that's what it's called. Like door to door delivery. I'm overthinking this. Yeah, so she gets obsessed with Jenny. Gets so obsessed with Jenny. This obsessive spiral, obsessive rabbit hole she goes into. And we follow her through that journey, that chaotic madness. And yeah, it does end on a very hopeful note, which I loved. Okay, I just loved the mess, the wreckage, and then everything does not get solved at the end, but like it's just there's a little bit of, it's a little sliver of hope. There's a little bit of sun, little ray of sunshine at the end, and that was really good. It's a very short book. Again, it's 208 pages, so it's 200 pages essentially, and it's really good. It's really good. I loved, like I said, the obsession, the mess, the wreckage, and the end being a little, okay, things might get better from now on. Like, we'll move on to my notion and see what I said about it. Okay, the bleak outlook on life, the feeling of being lost in life, the feeling of not being a good person. Oh yes, our main character, main girlie, she's not the best person. Like she's not a bad person, but she's kind of, she's struggling with her mental health, and that makes her behave in ways that is not the best. The feeling of not being a good person, and hence not deserving all the love from the people around you, the unhinged obsession with one thing or person in a subconscious attempt to have some meaningful significance attached to oneself and one's life. All of this put into words just spoke to my soul. It was so good. It was so good. I'm not really doing a good job at expressing how much it just, like it just, it got me good in my feels. It was just so good. Highly recommend. One of my favorite books, and it's 200 pages. All of this captured in 200 pages. Perfection. Okay, next book I'm going to talk about is, this is a graphic novel. It's called Other Ever Afters by Melanie Gilman. This is a graphic novel. It's a collection of short stories in the form of a graphic picture book. You know what I mean? Okay, I'll read you the description because I'm not doing a good job explaining this. In this new feminist queer fairy tale collection, the princesses, mermaids, barmaids, children, and wise old women who have all been forced to sit on the sidelines in the classic stories take center stage to fulfill their own dreams and find love, power, and the happiness they deserve. One of the biggest experiences of reading the biggest experience of reading a graphic novel is the art form. If the art form does not click with me, I'm sorry. If the story is so good, like I'm still not reading it. But the art was so pretty, so beautiful. I loved it. It was so cozy, but also kind of dark. The last story, honest to God, I cannot remember what it's called, but the last story, I read it immediately, twice. Like, I was like, I have to take it in. God, I cannot wait for the day where I have the resources to buy this book and just have it in my bookshelf. And then every time I look at it, I would be happy. I cannot just wait for the day where I can just on a whim crack open a physical copy of this and look at the art and the stories and have my heart fulfilled in that way, you know? We can all dream. Okay, that is Other Ever Afters by Melanie Gilman. The other book, next book, I want to talk about is The Push by Ashley Audrain. This, oh my god, where do I even start? It is an intergenerational story. It's about intergenerational trauma, especially passed on from women to women to women of the generations. So the main character of our story is Blythe, and she is a mother of two, and this has different perspectives, like, no, point of views. Her grandmothers, her mothers, hers, right? And her daughter also is one of the biggest main characters, but we don't get her point of view. Her grandmothers and her mothers are told in third person. Her past, as in her childhood, is told in first person, and her present, as in her recent past, is written as a letter from her to her ex-husband, because at the beginning of the story, you know that they have split up and her children are with him and his new wife. It's written as a letter from her to her ex-husband, and so it's written in second person. And oh my god, there's something about a book written in second person that just does it for me. It's so luscious. Like, the writing is just so great if it's in second person. Like, you cannot change my mind. Like, it's so good. Like, it's so well done. It's a mixture. What does adjuncture mean? Like, I just kind of, that word just popped up into my mind, but I'm not sure if that's the right usage. I'm gonna Google it. The joining of two sets which without overlapping jointly constitute a larger set. Okay, the adjuncture of the third person, the second person, and the first person was so good. It was so not entertaining, but it was so good to read. So the reading experience was really good. Her husband is the absolute shit. She does not want children, and he convinces her to have children, and she has children. She has babies just to make him happy, which is a great decision. My girl. Obviously, as a new mother, she's having trouble, and Mr. Husband has the audacity to tell that she's being a bad mother. He constantly implies and overtly even tells her that she's being a bad mother. And like, sir, what are you doing to help around the house? So what are you doing? Where are you carrying your weight of the child rearing, sir? You are leaving all of the child rearing monumentous heavy weightlifting to her, and you're just kind of playing with your daughter and being like, I'm such a good parent and you are the bitch parent. Like, I'm like, no, girl, leave him. Like, oh, that got on my nerves. I hate the husband. I hated the husband. I hate him. So she's not having a good time, right? And she's not being fair to her daughter. I agree, but like, the only person at fault is her bitchy husband. Okay, I hate him. She has children, right? So first she has a daughter, and she does not connect with her, and there's something off about her daughter. So we're following that. There's something off about her daughter, and the struggles of her motherhood, like the difficulties of being a mother, juxtaposed with her daughter not really being something wrong, something's fishy, something is wrong with her daughter. And then she has a son after that, and she immediately connects with her son. It's kind of very obvious, how much she has had a disconnect with her daughter, in comparison to how much she just connects instantly. I just had to check if I'm recording, because could you imagine that? What was I saying? Like how much she did connect with her son, and how much being a mother to her son came so easily to her, and kind of, so we're following that. I don't think you should have to, if you want concrete answers, if she is kind of making things up in her mind, like because of her mental health, or if something is actually wrong with her daughter because of her mental health, if you want concrete answers, this might not be the book for you, because it leaves you hanging. No answers, nothing. But I loved it. I loved the confusion, the chaos, the confusion of it. I'm just rambling now, but like I loved it. I loved it so much. Again, one of the best books I've read in my opinion so far. I should just go over to Notion and tell you what I said, what my immediate thoughts after reading the book were second person narrative, the horrors of motherhood, especially being coerced into motherhood by a dickbag of a partner, the intergenerational trauma passed through women. Ugh, this was written for me. I agree. But not really, It feels like it was written for me. And it was so good. It was so good. It's so good. You have to read it. If we have similar tastes, you have to read it. Okay, it's so good. It was so good. Okay, the next book on our list is, oh my god, we have 4 more books to go, and I've been talking forever. Editing me is going to have a glad, great, wonderful time editing this. Okay, the next book I have is a Wattpad book that I started reading last October, as in like October 2022, and I read it from October 2022 to January 2023, because I wasn't very regular with reading it. So I don't know if it would still hold up as my favorite book, as 5 stars, if I read it now. Like, I'm not sure, but when I read it, it was so good. It's called Ruby Red Threads. It's the author's handle on Wattpad is Akira Mado. It's a young adult magical realism, romance, coming of age, love story. It has major found family vibes. It's about friendship and loneliness. It's about a main character, Ruby, who has this power wherein she can see the red strings of fate that connect people. Now, in this world, all soulmates, romantic, platonic, all sorts of soulmates are connected by this red string of fate, and she somehow can see them, but she herself does not have any. And this is not a spoiler, you get to know this in the first chapter. And so she takes it upon herself as her purpose to bring soulmates together whenever she can. But like I said, she herself does not have any soulmates, so she's kind of dealing with this loneliness that comes with it, because right now she has friends, but she can't get too attached to them. She cannot get too close to them, because they're eventually going to leave, right? Because they have their soulmates. They're going to connect with them so much better than they connect with her. So she's kind of lonely in that way. So she kind of keeps to herself for the most part, although she does have friends. And so we follow okay, that is one plot, that is Ruby's plot. And then we have our other 2 main characters. They're called Ren and Akito. Okay, these 2 boys are soulmates, and they're in her class, so she takes it upon herself to connect them so that they can be happy and and have a good time being soulmates. you know but they hate each other, so they have an enemies to lovers arc. It's so sweet. It's so they're all these people, all these high schoolers. We have a set of 5 main characters and we follow them primarily, right? All have other things that are dealing with in life, and they're trying to figure themselves out, where they stand in life, what it means to be themselves, what it means to open up to love and friendship. It's just so good. It's so sweet, and it's so gay, and it's so sweet. It made me really happy. It made me really happy. The friendship, the found family. Oh, shut up. That is so good. It's so good. It made me so happy. Honestly. It's highly due for a reread, because I'm kind of doubting if it would hold up still. If I read it now, like, will the writing still be enjoyable for me? Like, I don't know. We should see. I should reread it, but that was Ruby Red Threads. You can read it for yourself. It's for free on Wattpad. So maybe just read the first couple of chapters and test out the waters. If the reading is good enough, and if it is, I would say it's worth reading the book, the Wattpad book. It's so good. That is Ruby Red Threads. The next book I have is a book I recently finished, and it's put me in a slump. It was so good that it's left me with this void. I'm like, what do I pick up next that could possibly fill in that void that this book left? And that is In the Company of Witches by Aurelie Wallace. This is a cozy, small town, witchy murder mystery, but the main theme of this book that is handled is grief, because our main character recently lost her husband. This is not a spoiler. She's kind of lost her magic along with that. So she's lost her husband, she's mourning that, she's lost her magic, she's mourning that. On top of this, we have a loving family, eccentric but loving family of her 2 aunts and her uncle. And thrown into this is a murder mystery, and it never gets too high stakes for you to feel anxious, or for it to be like a thrilling thriller adventure. It just constantly stays kind of low stakes, cozy, but also enough stakes because it's a murder mystery. But it's so good. It's so good. This is the second book, but I haven't been able to get my hands on it.
I haven't been able to get my girl a little paws on it.
The mystery as well was done very well, in my opinion. It was really heartwarming, heart-wrenching, but also cozy. It was so good. Okay, that is In the Company of Witches by Aurelie Wallace. The next book I want to talk about is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I picked this up because my brother told me. He was like, you only read female authors. Why don't you read a male author? And this was around the time when this book came out, or it was kind of popular. So I was like, Brandon Sanderson is a male author, so I want to try it out. And I tried out, and the writing is kind of witty, like tongue-in-cheek, in my opinion, and that kind of drew me in really quick. The story is really well written, in my opinion. It's written very fun, in a very fun way. And I also found Tress and Charlie on the first part really endearing. So and the illustrations, man, it's so nice, and the world building is okay. I'm getting carried away. This is about Tress, and it's like a cozy fantasy. We're following Tress, like I said, and we live in this place where the seas are made of spores, and if these spores come in contact with water, they combust spontaneously, and each sea has a different kind of spore, and they sprout into different things. So Tress is living in the Emerald Sea, where there are emerald spores, which sprout into plants, weeds, some sort of plants. Okay, and so it's highly dangerous because your eyes, your nasal cavity, your oral cavity, all have moisture. Even your skin, your sweat, you have moisture. So if they come in contact with water with moisture, they're gonna and imagine if you have all of that growing inside your nasal cavity and kind of poking through your brain, and you're gonna fucking die, is the long story short. So it's very dangerous, and the only two things that can kill the spores is, I believe, salt and silver. So okay, there is also this fluidization, I believe it's called, wherein this sort of air pumping from the base of these oceans, wherein they kind of keep the spores in a fluid way. There is a video where on YouTube where Brandon Sanderson explains to you this phenomenon where essentially the spore sea behaves like a sea of fluid water, like fluid, and he even demonstrates it with sand, which stand in for the spores. It's really interesting, actually. It's really smart and really interesting, actually. The world building was so nice. So the ships are made, or at least lined with silver, hence it's safe enough to travel by ships. And she lives on this rock, which has a high salt concentration, so it's kind of safe on this rock. And one day, the love of her life, Charlie, gets whisked away, essentially kidnapped. And so she sets on this journey to this dangerous spore oceans, trying to save the love of her life. And through that journey, she makes friends, she finds her found family, and she finds her purpose and what she's interested in. She kind of grows into her interests and her strengths. It's really nice. It's really cozy, really sweet, really interesting, really smart world building. Is also, the writing is written very witty. I loved it. I love the characters, I love the writing, I love the world, I love the illustrations. It's really good. I have one thing that I did not like about it is the ending. Now, this is a novel set in Brandon Sanderson's universe called the Cosmere. So I have no context of this universe, so this might just be me lacking some context for the ending to make sense. But I felt like the ending did not make sense because you have this immense build up for this character, essentially evil character, and then the evil character kind of does not live up to the build up of their evilness, and they kind of the problem just kind of gets solved, frankly, quite quickly. It did not make sense. I wanted more evilness and fighting and drama at the end for it to make sense for this journey. Throughout the journey we've been kind of building up to that ending, to that climax, if you will, but that kind of felt a little lackluster. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't hate it. That didn't kind of take away from my enjoyment of the book. I still gave it 5 stars because of how cozy and wonderful it was throughout the book. Just the ending felt a little off. So that's how I felt about it. That is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Highly recommend reading it. It's so wonderful. The last book, oh good lord, the last book is Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. This is a Turkish classic, and I have extensively taken notes. I don't think I have ever taken this many notes, this many annotations for a book like I did with this. I have to show you. Okay. Oh my god, you cannot hold up. So that is Madonna Fur Coat, and I've taken notes. I've taken so many quotes. I've taken so many notes. Okay, I want to read you out Okay, I'll first tell you what this book is about. This is about a main character, Raif Effendi. I believe that's how you pronounce. I am not sure. I am extremely sorry. I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names. But our boy Raif goes to Berlin. This is set right before the Second World War. So he's from Turkey, right? So his father sends him to Berlin in search of better opportunities for his son, right? So Raif goes because his father sends him, and he goes to Berlin in the pretext. He's supposed to study there, but he roams around, he goes to art galleries, and eventually he finds his soulmate, and he inevitably falls in love, and things happen where he's separated from his love, and now he's living a very bland, very purposeless, meaningless life. And it's a very melancholic love story about longing, and having met your absolute soulmate and being ripped apart due to life's circumstances, and how like a part of you always stays with them, and it's kind of I don't know, it's very melancholic and very what I said about this book is, oh yes, it's an overthinker's diary. So it's kind of told as his diary entry. An overthinker's diary. So I relate. But he has a little more of a grim outlook on life than myself. Nevertheless, it is a miraculous, beautiful, and tragic love story, and I just loved it so much. I want to read you a couple of quotes. I was just going to say I want to read you all of it, but that would be a little too much. Okay. This is on the first page, okay? Again, I read this and I was like, tell me this is not written for me. Because it is written exactly for me. Like, it just fits so well in my head, like in my mind. Like, this was made for this brain. Like, okay. He was, in the end, okay, this is one of okay, we are in his present, as in like he has come back to Turkey, he has a family now, and he has children, but he's kind of living like a shell, like a for the sake of just surviving. He's kind of living a lackluster life, if you will, and so his co-worker initially, we follow his co-worker's not obsession, fascination with Raif, and then his co-worker gets a hold on his Raif's diary, and then you kind of follow the diary entries. That's how it's told. So this is from his co-worker's perspective, right? He says, can you see me? Yes. He's talking about Raif. He was, in the end, the sort of a man who causes us to ask ourselves, what do they live for? What do they find in life? What logic compels them to keep breathing? What philosophy drives them as they wander the earth? But we ask in vain if we fail to look beyond the surface, if we forget that beneath each surface lurks another realm in which a caged mind whirls alone. Now tell me that is not written for me. Like, oh my god, that is written for me. Okay, that is that is exactly the thing that is appealing to my mind. Okay. I found a couple of things that I was like, oh, and one of this is Raif's wife, Marie Hanim, though not yet 40, she was already old and fat and misshapen, with breasts that hung down to her navel. I was like, okay, you already established that she's worn and torn and old and fat and misshapen. I do not know. I do not need the visual of her breasts hanging down to her navel. Okay, that was not necessary. But okay, whatever, What else should I read you? Okay, I'm going to read you a huge paragraph because to think this was written in 1948 by a man. Okay, okay, we've met. Rife is in Berlin and he's met the love of his life, right? Her name is Maria. Um, so he is talking to her, okay? So, stopping in the middle of the street, she wagged her finger at me as if she were telling me, a child, to behave. There's one thing you must remember. This all ends the moment you want something from me. You can't ask me for anything. Anything. Do you hear? It was almost as if she were arguing with a faceless enemy. For now, as she continued, her voice was thick with anger. Do you know why I hate you? You and every other man in the world? Because you ask so much of us. As if it were your natural right. Mark my words, for it can happen without a single word being uttered. It's how men look at us and smile at us. It's how they raise their hands. To put it simply, it's how they treat us. You'd have to be blind not to see how much confidence they have and how stupidly they achieve it. If you need a measure of their arrogant pride, all you need is to see how shocked they are when their advance is rejected. All of this Maria is telling Rife, by the way. Um, and if you need a measure of their arrogant pride, all you need is to see how shocked they are when their advance is rejected. They are hunters, you see, and we, their miserable prey. And our duty is to bow down and obey and give them whatever they want. But we shouldn't. We shouldn't give away a single bit of ourselves. It's revolting, this arrogant male pride. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, well, that's why I think maybe we can be friends. Because I can't see a trace of that awful male pride in you. But I don't know. Even when he has a lamb between his teeth, a wolf can hide his savagery behind a smile. Um, yeah. Maria. But I'm astonished by Sabahatin Ali. Like, oh my god, man. I love you. What else should I read here? I'm gonna read you another line, which I kind of was like, oh, really? Oh. And then I'm gonna read you the best line, okay? The line was Maria again is telling Raif why she cannot love women, right? She's like, it's just that I'm an artist. As you know, I have my own standards of beauty. I don't think it would be beautiful to make love to a woman. How can I put it? The aesthetics would be all wrong. And then I'm a lover of the natural world. I have always been reluctant to behave in a way that goes against the natural world. And she tells this in response to his question as to why she cannot fall in love with a woman. And she's like, that's just not natural and that's just not aesthetic to make love to a woman. I'm like, okay, just tell you're not into women and move on. But the best line in the book is Raif tells Maria, okay? Oh shit. He's like, Maria, I whispered, how can one person make another person so happy? What amazing powers we must have hidden deep inside us to make, each other happy. He's like, Maria, I whispered, how can one person make another person so happy? What amazing powers we must have hidden deep inside us. And I'm like, yeah, how fascinating is that? You know? That's all I'm gonna read out to you. And that was Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahatin Ali. That sums up, that wraps up all of my favorite books of this year. That made me feel so happy. Okay, I want to know your thoughts on what I said, or if you have read the books that I talked about. I want to know what you thought about them, what your opinions are, good or bad, whatever. Yeah, with that said, if you enjoyed. If you think we have similar tastes in reading, do subscribe. I would really appreciate that because, that would be really nice. And what were your best books of the year? I'm very curious. That's all I have to say. My mind is still not even here. My mind is still in the books that I was talking about. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Bye, and see you next time with another video. Bye bye. Take care.